Hey folks, Henry here, Valley Gardens Community Center. Just working on the Zamboni. We're getting it prepared for our winter season, and I've looked online to see if there's videos out there on what to do, and there is no videos basically to show how a Zamboni 200 pull behind machine is maintained or repaired and what to do. So I thought I would do some maintenance and show you guys what we found on the Zamboni 200. So let's go, let's take a look at some seasonal and let's look at some repair. Alright folks, this is our traditional Zamboni 200. Please don't work on your Zamboni when it's just raised up by the hydraulics. Please make sure you put jack stands underneath to be safe. 2 is good, 4 is better. On our machine, make sure that you do some seasonal maintenance. It'll say in your manual if you have one. If you don't get one, you can order it online from Zamboni. Make sure you do all your grease points. There are many. There's many for the door, there's many for your axles. I believe there's about 12 to 16 on here, if I'm correct. So you got to make sure you get them all. Look in your manual, it'll show you where they all are. Make sure you grease and keep your chain greased as well. One of the issues we had, folks, was the chain coming off the sprocket on the bottom half of the chute, and we found that the chain was the original chain. It was old, it was stretched, it was not a good chain, had a lot of movement and a lot of play, and it couldn't be adjusted any tighter without actually damaging the paddles inside the chute. Here's your adjustment for your chute. You can adjust that right to the top. Rest assured folks, if you adjust your chute right to the top, your blades will not clear the back of the chute and you'll be damaging these blades, and as we all know, they're quite expensive. So you want to make sure that you adjust, when you adjust, that these blades clear the back of the chute without touching anything. Folks, I also like to pre-bend my blades slightly. They can go through the system square, but it leaves very little clearance on the side and they get chipped and damaged on the edges anyways. So I pre-bend them slightly just so that they clear the chute and go up and down the chute much easier. They still clear the snow just fine. You find that you have less damage. Now, we found at the end of the year our paddles were all split here. Many were old, but they were cracking along the top and we couldn't figure out why, as well as damage on the corner. Let me show you why that was happening and what the proper fix was. As you can see here, folks, beneath the Zamboni, you have your paddles and you have a plate, which is basically paddle guide. And it guides your paddles, and your paddles run along there and they pick up the snow. You can see that plate that runs right along the edge. Our plate was bent out so far that it was coming down on top of the paddle edges as we lowered the Zamboni. So I've put brackets on there, I've put C-clamps on there, as you can see, and I've heated it to pull it back. It seems to be working pretty good. It's given the blade some clearance to come down so that the guide for that blade does not come down on it while we're actually trying to use the Zamboni when we lower it to the ice. Also, when you lower it to the ice, make sure that you have your Zamboni set up and your center link set up so that your back doesn't come down way faster than the front. If it does, you'll find that your blades are going to swing, and as your blades swing out, they're going to go underneath the plate and the blade will come down. So make sure you set up your Zamboni either to come down perfectly flat or slightly forward is what I do, just slightly forward so that the front slightly touches before the back. It just gives me a little extra assurance that my blades will not be coming down beneath the plate guide. Folks, here you have your motor and your hydraulic that runs your sprocket. It runs this cable. Ours is opened up a little bit. It was a little bit bent, but last year I had to get a new plate. Check your plate, make sure it's not bent forward from the torque. Put a new plate in. Make sure, if you have to, you can put a washer in there in between the bolts just to make sure it's straight up and down for your sprocket, and then you won't be breaking links or throwing chain up here either. Double check that, make sure that's all greased up and lubed up at the beginning of the year as well, and throughout the year. As you can see with the C-clamps and heating up that plate that the paddles run against, the runner guide plate, I took a lot of the paint off underneath there, and as you can see, my blade is actually not on the machine right now. It's out being sharpened. I have 2 and I can alternate. The blade is off the machine, and I've had to take a lot of the paint off while I was heating up there. So once I'm done with these plates and I remove them, I'll make sure I go up there and I spray that blue and make sure I clean it up and get it all nice. Then we'll get the blade back on. I will adjust the blade, and I'll do a video in the future of about how to adjust that blade and how to make sure it's sitting properly on your machine for the best cuts. Folks, I hope you found that video helpful for you. If you have any questions, you can contact me here at Valley Gardens Community Center. I'm not a technician for it. I've just worked on it for the last 3 years. Let me know if there's anything you need to know. Hank out, Valley Gardens.